Welcome back to Bay Sunday, folks. Our next guest was not only the president of the Women's National Book Association, but an award-winning writer, educator, community organizer, and much more. Her works have appeared in over 80 national magazines, anthologies, and literary journals all around the world. Known for her work in poetry, her collections capture the sensual details of life and allow the reader to reflect on the natural world and the joys within it. She has received big-time reviews for her two most recent works, A Dreamer's Guide to Cities and Streams, and also Here and Abroad. Please welcome Jill Gilfan. How are you?
Thank you.
Tell us.
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, let's talk about the Dreamer's Guide out of the gate. Take us through the process of writing that. What were your intentions?
I wanted to express myself with the work that inspires me, and I use dreams a lot for inspiration. So that's why the Dreamers is in there. I also find cities very inspiring and intriguing. I like to explore them in Here and Abroad. I'm in Rome and in Florence and in Paris and Berkeley, California.
There you go.
And of course, my new book is set in San Francisco, so I love cities, but I'm also kind of a nature person. So the book is divided into poems about being out in nature in the Sierras, and then poems about being in cities, and there's some political poems in there as well.
You know what I take from this? Sometimes we just got to stop and listen. You know?
That's what writers do.
You know, here you are, you're stuck in the minutiae of life, and all of a sudden you're in your backyard and you go, oh my goodness, I never heard that before. That's kind of what it reminded me of in a little bit when you're talking about spider webs and some of the intricate things that happen while you're doing your thing. You know?
There was a long series of articles in the San Francisco Chronicle by an art critic about the importance of boredom in creativity. And if people don't allow themselves to have that complete quiet time, where even to the borderline where they might think, I'm bored, that's often where creativity sparks up.
And you traveled for this a little bit. You mentioned some of the cities in Paris and Rome and Florence and Berkeley, go Bears. Why those cities, and how did they inspire you?
The Florence story was actually written, inspired by my honeymoon, because we were in Italy for our honeymoon. But I've been traveling quite a bit in the last years with my husband, who's a tech executive. So we've been to Europe several times. I've been to England and France. And so while he's there doing business, I'm going to museums and kind of soaking up the culture. And of course, I'm a writer, so any interesting detail is going to spark me.
Well, your poetry is beautiful, it's powerful, it's witty, it's humorous. How do you balance everything out when you're putting a book together so you don't lean one way or the other, where you get a little bit of everything, I guess is what I'm saying?
There's a long article in Poets and Writers about it's like putting an album together. So you put your poems together, there has to be an arc in each section. So you don't want to start out with a heavy, soul-searching poem and end up with something funny. You kind of want to go the other way, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
It's like as if you're
watching. It's like public speaking, you know?
Right, you start slow.
Exactly. Come out and win them with a little bit of humor. Well, let's talk about your other book, Here and Abroad. You touched on some of the cities that you went in. 3 short stories, and a young art historian meets an art critic in one of them, which is kind of fire and ice. Talk about those stories if you can.
In that book, I was really interested in searching for truth, which a lot of writers, if they tell the truth, that's really what they're doing. They're exploring who's got the ultimate authority, who are the people who say this is real and this isn't real. As that story shows, it's called The Art Critic. A young writer goes to Italy to meet a world-famous art critic. And they have differing opinions about the veracity of a painter. The art critic says, this painter never existed, it's not her work. And the young journalist says, I don't believe you.
I got to hold you right there, Joan. We're out of time. But all the best with the books.
Thank you so much,
and
Frank.
I know you're working on a novel that kind of centers around the
Silicon
Valley, the tech
yes,
industry. That's
yes.
coming out. If you'd like to learn more about Joan's poetry collections or fictional works, go to joangilfan.com. That's it, folks. Have a great week.